All right, welcome everyone. I'm Colleen Flaherty, host of Sharpening the Sword. Welcome to Sharpening the Sword. I have Diana here with us, which I am super stoked about because you are our first guest. This
Yay!
is historic.
I also just realized I have the wrong PowerPoint up.
No worries. Everyone, don't look behind the scenes to what's going on right now. Just listen to my voice. We are here because both Diana and I work with parents, and we work with everybody, but primarily we love supporting adults who are trying to raise tiny humans. And I created Sharpening the Sword to be a video show. I want to be able to hop on live on camera and have conversations with an audience and with guests like Diana, and really just share information, share community, be able to make eye contact with each other. If you want to be on camera with us, that's cool. Or you can just listen in, but it's going to develop into more of like a radio show style as we go along, which I'm super stoked about. So welcome. And Diana, how did we meet? Was it through
we met,
Lauren?
No, it was through Mark.
Oh, through Mark.
Mark was building you a bench. And
Yes.
So I work at CrossFit 858.
Yeah.
And Mark is the owner. And I had gotten my pregnancy and postpartum athleticism coaching certification within the last year because we have so many pregnant mamas and postpartum mamas at 858. We're like a really family-friendly gym. And so through that, Mark met you through woodworking for you.
Yeah.
And he obviously found out what you did. And he was like, you need to meet Diana. And then he messaged me and he was like, you need to meet this girl, Colleen. And so we just went and got lunch, and the rest is history.
Awesome. Thanks, Mark. If you ever watch this, ever.
He could use these. He's a dad. So.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Perfect. We'll just tell him to watch the recording. So tell us a little bit about you beyond working at CrossFit 858 and like what we're gonna talk about today.
Yeah. So I'll focus on myself first. So I'm a precision nutrition level 1 coach. So what that means is I got my certification through Precision Nutrition, which is a company that focuses primarily not just on like creating diet plans for people and telling people this is how much you eat and when, but actually changing people's lifestyles and habits to support creating balance between eating, life in general, and getting the goals that you want, but without losing your sanity is what I would say.
Yeah.
So important. I do focus on food. I do call myself a nutrition coach, but it is much more than that because realistically, you can't focus on your nutrition if you're tired or if your recovery sucks or if you're not even working out at all. So I focus on all aspects of lifestyle: food, fitness, sleep, recovery, anything else that's going on in your life, things like that, how to handle a pandemic. And I also work with a lot of parents. So because majority of my client base has come from CrossFit 858 and a lot of CrossFit 858 client base are parents, that is a lot of people that I work with. And then with my pre and postpartum athleticism certification, I just wrapped it all together in hopes that I could reach a lot more parents. So I think the biggest thing that I've been learning during the quarantine is that, quite frankly, parents have it the hardest right now.
Yeah.
They are home. They are with the kids nonstop. They really don't get a break. There's no such thing as boundaries right now for them. And so the strategies that I've been giving my parents have done a complete shift. And so what I've done is I've wrapped them up into a cute little PowerPoint presentation that does a nice summary of some of the strategies that I've been dishing out to my parents that I hope can help other parents manage their time and health and wellness during their quarantine.
Awesome. That's exactly what they need right now because like you said, it's just how are they even getting adult things done if they have to watch, kid or kids right now. So I'm excited.
It's serious that no parents were really prepared for because you don't really expect to be home with the kids 24/7. So cool. Well, I'll jump right into it.
Yeah.
We'll talk about movement first, because I think that's the thing that comes to the forefront of people's minds when they're trying to manage quarantine is, well, my exercise is going completely out the window, and how do I get control over that?
Mm-hmm.
And so I have a couple different things. So one of them is time domain. And I think the biggest thing that we have learned as just like humans is this routine, and that fitness has to fit within like 1 hour, and it has to create a and strength portion and getting your heart rate up, and then also a cool down. And I can't even believe like how you fit all of that in when you have kids climbing all over you.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of my parents are like, I don't have an hour. Sometimes I'm lucky if I get 30 minutes, right? So a lot of it is mentally releasing the time domain aspect from your workout.
I love that.
As you know, I work in CrossFit, and CrossFit is known for you can get a wicked good workout in 5 minutes or less.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the examples I prepared for today is like, try doing burpees for 5 minutes, as many burpees as possible.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be gassed. It's a total body workout. You're going to get both your heart rate up. You're going to work the upper body, add a tuck jump to the end of it, add some lower body and core.
Right.
And that's a 5-minute workout right there.
Oh my God, I love it.
Right. So we don't have
easy
to work out for an hour. And you definitely don't need to be, unless you're trying to go to the Olympics, in which case.
Yeah. Who's going to the Olympics right now? Didn't they cancel the Olympics?
Yeah. So in that case, you really
yeah, no one's going. Don't even worry about it. Nobody worry about any fitness goals that you have for the next like 4 years.
I think that's actually something else we should touch upon. I wrote an Instagram post about this yesterday, and fitness goals.
Mm-hmm.
So many people are still fixated on their old fitness goals, but that was in an old world that's within different constraints, different, abilities. You might have had more time. You had an actual gym. You had a coach right in front of you. Yeah. At 858, we have supervised child room, and that's why we do really well with families, but they don't have that now. And what we have to realize is that your goals are going to make a huge shift.
Totally.
We're not going for the same things, and that's okay. But when times change, you need to change. You need to adapt, and that means your goals need to adapt. So I think that's huge. And I love the fact that you brought that up, is we have different goals now.
Yeah. And
we're just trying to stay healthy.
I know. We're just trying to like not get any type of sickness under the sun.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're all about immunity right now. No, I love that, because it's so interesting to see what the world is going to hold once we are able to get back together. But even then, we don't know what of our daily life is going to shift, because like clearly people can work from home. So are more people just going to be working from home and less people commuting now? Because really some businesses are still thriving and their people are working from home. So it's like, wow, are a lot of people now going to need that care for being in their home versus like that routine of like, go to work, go to the gym, got my gym bag, go home. Like it's going to be a totally different service that gyms and coaches are going to potentially provide when this is all over.
I mean, absolutely. I'm blown away by the fact that so many CrossFit gyms, and I'm just in the CrossFit space, so that's what I know mainly, but so many CrossFit gyms have been able to pull their services from a brick and mortar, that is CrossFit at the heart of it. It is like you are there for the community aspect. You are surrounded by other people. You're sweating together. Throwing around barbells is like how it's seen. And we took all of that and moved it online. You strip people of barbells, because I live in a 650 square foot apartment. I thought about bringing my barbell home, and I was like, I don't think that's a great idea.
Oh my gosh.
So
you're not getting your deposit back.
So you're stripping people of the equipment that they're used to using. You're creating a completely new workout. I mean, it's nowhere near what normal CrossFit programming is, but our members are adapting because they understand that at this point they don't care, because they just want to move.
Yep. And is it even, I'm friends with some of the strong coach coaches, and that's a program found by Mike Bledsoe. And I was just on a call with them last week, and it's like, so if we've taken away the box and like the equipment, and we now have this like essence of what community and gym business is that, because we translated it online, and like most people are following their gyms and participating still, and very few gyms have like lost, you know, a significant amount of people. Most people are still doing virtual experience, and it's like, so it makes you think, like, do you really need a property, a brick and mortar? Because I think that sometimes can be like a facade for a lot of people to get to like to the heart of what we're doing. Like the heart is that we're gathering, like you said, like we're getting together, we're in community, and like the equipment and the walls were just tools to do that and like get people together. But I think it's so incredibly powerful that people have continued to stick with it and to stick with their coaches and their leaders in the community for the online versions. And even if it's different, they're adapting, which is amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, you do also have to give credit to the mental shift that has to happen in order for that to happen. Like, you know, I'm in a lot of forums, so I have seen some gyms struggle, and they're saying, well, none of my members are getting on Zoom. And obviously there's got to be some kind of, you know, backstory there to say,
right.
Well, why aren't they?
Yeah.
But from the 858 perspective, you know, because I'm deep into that community, is I know that we are constantly reaching out to members. We are pulling members together to say, like, hey, if you're not on Zoom, like, why not give it a shot? We're doing happy hours. We've done a trivia night on Zoom, things like that. Right. So implementing that community, and then those people are also implementing the community outside of that. So so we have a women's only class at 858, and that's the women who come, and they mostly have kids. So they all bond over the fact that that is their 1 hour with adults. And so I think they're hurting the most. Like they want that time. They're not getting their separation. And the other night they all held a Zoom gathering together. And I thought that was amazing. Like that was completely not coordinated by the gym. It was all on their own, and they got together still, and they all have that bond.
Cute. I love it. So, yeah, that's so important. But like your gym gave them like that platform to get to know each other and to be like, and to support that endeavor.
Exactly. Right. And, you know, encouraging people to realize what you can do with Zoom. So I had a client for nutrition who was telling me her gym had not gotten, she was at a different gym, and her gym had not gotten onto Zoom yet. They weren't doing online workouts. So she was really struggling with motivation. And so what I recommended to her, I was like, well, why wait for your gym to create a Zoom class? Why don't you actually text some of your gym friends and see if they want to hop on Zoom or FaceTime and do the workout with you? And she ended up doing that, and they did it for like 3 days straight. And loved it. Like it was great because you still had your community, you still had that support, you still had someone pushing you, even if it's on the other end of a phone.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so powerful and helps everyone like stay sane and get that motivation and that accountability.
Absolutely. So that helps.
That's amazing.
But yeah, then the next point is also involving the kids, right? Community. You've got a little mini community around you.
Heck yeah.
So we're doing something at 858 right now called a mental WOD. So what we're doing is we're actually focusing on mental shifts. And we decided to start this week off with focusing on exercise and movement to help people with making that mental shift from, I'm going from my brick and mortar gym, I have to give up my old goals, to now reassign myself some new goals that are more appropriate for the times and for my capabilities. And one of the people who hopped onto it, you know, he had spoken yesterday about how there was a certain kind of dread that led him to the gym. Like he dreaded getting there. There was always something, you know, about it that he was just like, I just don't feel like going. By the time he finished the workout, he'd feel great. But now when you don't have that community to push you don't have like a set class time. I know he's been struggling to get online because he has 2 kids. And so we were talking about it, and he commented today that, you know, working out can feel boring. It can feel like it's a chore, but then he watched his kid do it. And his kid and him did this whole obstacle course and squats together and everything. He was like, I was sweating more than I ever have. All because he just went and he had fun with his kid. And there are so many things that you can do with children. And I think also involving them in your exercise routine promotes really good habits. It shows them that movement is fun and encourages them to be creative with movement. I've seen children at our gym, they copy us. They copy what we're doing. I mean, I've shown kids with a PVC pipe how to do a clean and jerk because they want to learn because they see their mom doing it or their dad doing it.
Yeah.
And so it's an incredible bonding experience if you take advantage of it right now.
Yeah, I actually just got done programming my first family class that I'm going to lead on Fridays. And all my classes are 30 minutes because that's just enough time to like get going, get sweaty, and like get about your day. And so it's all fun games with the kids. So I'm promoting it as your kids should be like 2 or older because they have to understand like some semblance of like rules to the game. But they're very basic, and it's like the kids have one task and then the parents have like a movement task, and it's very fun. And our first theme is space, so there's lots of like stardust and aliens and astronauts, and then one object like a handkerchief or like a small towel that's carried throughout the movements. But yeah, it's just breaking outside the box and like play. But it's just like goofy fun. Everyone's going to be incorporated and sweating and like having a good time. And it can be very daunting for parents to be like, if my exercise is like set 1, set 2, set 3, and my kid's just climbing on me like a monkey and I can't do that, like I can't do anything. And like I love that you're helping parents be like, no, it can actually just be like an obstacle course in your house and everyone does it and everyone's laughing and sweating and making up weird rules. And like, that was your workout, like mental shift. That's okay. Like that counts. Yeah.
And also like you can use your child as a weight, right? Like if they're climbing all over you, awesome. Let's do some weighted planks or weighted push-ups or whatever. Throw them on your back and do some squats. When I play with my friends' kids, their favorite thing is when I do baby thrusters with them. So I squat with them, and then as I come up, I toss them in the air, and they love it, and I'm exhausted. So it clearly works. And if you can get creative with the kids and involve them and have them do squats next to you or have them do box jumps next to you or have them climb on you and see what you can do with them, like, why not?
It's a fun challenge. Yeah, absolutely. Love it.
Well, that's where I put get creative, because I've been inspired by your posts a lot, because I think as a trainer, I've learned a lot from you on, well, let's break out of this typical fitness mode of, you know, when I started speaking to you initially, the first thing that you blew my mind with was, I don't even give my clients reps, you know, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
And who knew, fast forward to now when we're in quarantine, and I'm talking to people who are like, well, I only have 10-pound dumbbells, or I don't have anything at all. And I'm like, just go until it burns.
Yeah.
Like, just do more reps, because you have to work with lower weight.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that. So I love to get creative. The idea that movement doesn't have to be so linear. It doesn't have to look like a bicep curl or a squat, but it can also look like, you know, play and fun and obstacle courses and challenges, and you know, there's so many different opportunities out there, and if we break that mold within our own mind, then the world honestly opens up to us.
Yeah, and it gives your brain like the novelty that it craves. Like your brain loves new movement, and so if you can give it to them or give it to your brain by also incorporating your kids and like your kids' brain, it's going to be a great day.
And that's what your brain needs the most in quarantine is, I mean, we're now in this day-to-day routine where we see pretty much the same 4 walls constantly. We're doing the same things. I know I get up, I sit down at my desk, I work the whole day, I get my walk in with my dog, and nothing really changes. So why not at least take your movement and make it novel, so that you can challenge your brain in a new way during a time where we really aren't being actively challenged.
Nothing is novel.
Yeah,
I feel you. This is great.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Yes. So I definitely think that if you want to break up, like the number one thing people can do to break up like stagnation, boredom, like frustration, angst, is just do some type of physical movement. Doesn't have to be long. Like you said, it could be 5 minutes of burpees, any variation that you want to do, and like you're good. I love that.
Yeah. And once again, that goes with our changing goals, right? Your goals might no longer be something that's so tangible that you can, call it a PR. Your goal might be like maintain health right now, or move once a day for 10 minutes. Maybe that's your new goal.
That's my goal.
We have to work. Yeah. We have to work in new constraints. My goal is to like be more efficient with my workouts and stop spending so much time like sitting around and like doing them. But yeah, so then the other point I put in was spread it out, because, we think, well, I can't get 30 minutes of time to myself. Well, what about adding just squats, like every hour that you're working, just get up and just do 10 squats, right?
Yeah.
If you accumulate that across the day, you're going to do a hell of a lot of squats.
Heck
right?
yeah.
It could be for every time, make it a fun game. If you're feeding your kid, every time they eat a vegetable, do a jumping jack and make it fun, making it exciting for them. So that way they want to eat more vegetables and you want to do more jumping jacks.
Yeah. They're just eating vegetables to like make you do work. That's awesome.
Yeah. Like whatever makes it work, right? Like spread it out through the day and just find different ways where you can be like, this is a new way for me to move right now. Like awesome.
Yeah.
So
I love it.
I think that's huge, is just to get creative, find different things. I mean, I know people who are going out for runs with their baby strollers and who are, like think about if you're putting your child into your baby carrier, can you add 10 deadlifts to it before you take that carrier to the car? Right. You can farmer carry your groceries. I love making my grocery runs into farmer carries and seeing like what I could carry, especially when when I lived in Boston and like parking was terrible. So I really had to walk like multiple blocks with my groceries. I would be like, we're going to make this a farmer carry. This is like my exercise for the day.
Heck yeah.
And amazing. You can do that.
Yeah. Yep. Just add more movement, like you're saying, like wherever you can.
Absolutely.
Sneak it in.
Sneak it in, more importantly. I think one of the coolest things, so I got on Down Dog yoga app. I think it's amazing because you don't need a lot of time. So I'm like, great, I'm going to do like a 10-minute routine. I still have yet to try it, but it's on my list, but chair yoga. So they're like, if you don't have space or you're just at your desk and you want to get some quick movement in, you can do chair yoga.
That's a thing? I didn't even know.
Well, we have to try it now.
You're blowing my mind. All right, Ryan has the app, so we'll try some chair yoga.
Oh yeah, I've been like trying the app out and it's been awesome and it's been really great. So I mean, we can talk about it more also on the mindfulness part, because I've been using it at the end of the night for that. So that's been great.
Yeah, let's throw it in there.
But yeah, so movement, obviously we can get creative, and then next is meals. So the biggest issues that a lot of my clients are facing is they either don't have time to sit down to eat themselves, they don't have time to cook because they can't take their eyes off of anyone, because you never know what's going to happen when you walk away. Yep. I have one client who she's raising a 3-year-old, 2 twins that are under a year, and her husband's on deployment right now. So she's like, I cannot spend that much time in the kitchen, so we have to find strategies. Right. I know she's a blessed woman. So the biggest thing is plan ahead. I think that most people are struggling because we are left looking at our fridge going, I don't know what to do. So instead I'm going to grab something easy and call it a day. So if we can do some kind of planning, what we can do is eliminate the amount of time that we're spending standing in front of the fridge, getting things out. I had one particular client who, as soon as we started planning her meals, she was like, cooking's not this daunting task anymore. She can make meals in 30 minutes or less because we planned easy meals that she can manage that aren't like, they're not elaborate, and she already has a plan going into it. So she knows exactly what she's going to do, and she's minimized all her time in the kitchen.
Sweet. What is like an example of a simple meal?
So I teach my clients to focus building their meals around a protein, carb, fat, and vegetable. So for example, like what I did with this particular client is we would get on the phone and I would say, okay, I want you to go and look at your fridge and tell me all of the protein that you have. I feel like protein is a really easy way to create that as the base of your meal,
I agree.
right? So let's say, you know, she has salmon. Awesome. Tell me all of the vegetables you have. And let's say one of those vegetables is asparagus. Awesome. Salmon and asparagus goes great together. You can add like a nice lemon touch to it, or a good Italian seasoning, whatever it might be. Then throw in, like, we need a carbohydrate. All right. Pilaf would go really good with that. Rice, maybe potatoes, but we look in her cabinet and we say, okay, what do you have? You have rice? Great. We're going to do rice this week. And then finally with fats, it's a matter of, okay, do you cook with fats or do you want to add some more fat? So that might be the look of, maybe we make a salad and add almonds to it, or we add pesto to that salmon, or you sprinkle a little bit of Parmesan cheese onto your asparagus, whatever that looks like. You know, I think fats are fun to dress up your food essentially with.
And they make it so
that
tasty.
Would create, right. And that would create a full, complete meal. And I just focus on hitting those major categories and saying, okay, check each one off the list. And if you can have all 4 pieces to a main meal, you should be good.
Yeah. No, I love the idea. I know I just naturally start with protein, but I don't know how other people do it, because it makes the most sense. Because it's like, okay, if I have beef, then I could go one of many flavor profile ways. But if I have like a vegetable that's more like, I don't know, like slaw or like cabbage or something like that, then, you know, you're kind of like getting into like closer and closer to what flavors you want to pair those two together with. And it makes life way easier when you're moving about the protein versus like, I have all these things.
Yeah. Make a list of what you have and make them into these nice little lists, and essentially play like a mix and match game to see what does sound good to you, what takes, you know, the most or least time. Like if you look at, you know, when I plan my meals, I look at my evening. So I coach nutrition clients on the phone in the evenings on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So those are the days I know I'm going to be less likely to cook like a big meal. Because I'm getting off calls by 6 p.m. Sometimes I'm eating dinner between calls, so I really only have an hour to myself. So those are the nights where I'm going to opt for much easier meals, things I can throw on a pan, minimal effort. But on Tuesdays, Thursdays, my nights are completely open. So then if I'm planning a meal that takes a lot more time and effort, then I'm going to plan it for a Tuesday or Thursday, or maybe even a Saturday when I have that time. And then I cook everything in bulk. That's the only way we do it here. That way you always have leftovers and you're guaranteeing yourself a couple meals off from cooking.
Yeah. So smart.
But you don't have to.
Yeah.
You don't have to start with protein either.
That's true.
Like, let's say you're having pizza for dinner. I deal with this with clients all the time when they're like, well, what if I want a pizza? Like, okay, that's largely your carbohydrate. You're probably going to have
what
to
if I want a pizza?
What if I want a pizza? Am I allowed to have it? Like, yes, you can have a pizza. You've got your carbs, you've got your fats. Can you add a protein to that? Can you add a side salad for some veggie? We just worked backwards a little bit. You don't have to start with a protein, but you can also start with, like, what are you in the mood for and how can you create that into a meal?
I like that too. It's like you're talking about having just a lot more flexibility right now. And I think it's so important that that's like something that people can really take away from this is a whole new life, a whole new world. We don't know how long it's going to last. We have to be adapting. And even, I don't know if you've been talking about like even grocery shopping experiences with your clients, because a lot of things are still limited, like in shortage, or may not even be on the shelves anymore. I know a lot of my friends have like super anxiety about going to the grocery store. And because they, you know, it's obviously putting them at some type of risk when they go out. And what have you been helping your clients with when it comes to navigating acquiring groceries?
So if you're genuinely afraid of like the exposure that you might get, I recommend there's tons of online options. Butcher Box is still delivering, so you can get proteins from them. We're getting deliveries from Imperfect Produce now. We were like, it's a great time to try this out. Let's minimize our exposure by getting things shipped to our homes and see how that goes. And, you know, I'd always been wanting to try it, and this was just kind of that extra push to do so.
Yeah.
Territory Foods operates out of our gym as like we are a drop off location. So I get emails from them. So I see that they've moved from doing, you know, a one stop like drop off location where members go and pick up their food to they're doing home deliveries.
Yeah.
You can get full meals for like $7 to $9 a meal delivered to your home. Yeah. You can do any of those other like HelloFresh, plated, things like that, and just have your food delivered to you if you're really concerned.
Do you use any like Amazon Fresh, or like, do you recommend people do any like grocery shopping delivery, like grocery delivery?
Yeah, so I used to use Instacart when I lived in Boston, mainly because like, once again, parking was miserable. So getting my car to and from the grocery store was frustrating. So I would just have someone else go grocery shopping for me and drop it off to my apartment. And I know they're doing, they're still in service right now, I'm pretty sure. Other than that, yes, you can absolutely shop online. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just personally picky. I like to pick my produce. Like, so do I. I'm like, I want full control over that. Yeah. So it was already a big leap for us to like go with Imperfect Produce. I'm like, well, you know what? I'm setting myself up to get Imperfect Produce. So
yeah,
it's not to take it out. Yeah. But yeah, if I'm going to the grocery store, I'm personally picky. So we've been going. We try to limit how much we go. You know, so between our deliveries and things like that, whatever small items we need. But I think the biggest thing for my clients who are still going grocery shopping is you have to be flexible. I think understanding that Google is probably your best tool. If you cannot find a particular ingredient, you can always replace it with something else. And if you're following a specific recipe and you just Google an ingredient and write substitutes after it, you might actually surprise yourself and find something that you have within your home that you can very well use as a substitute in a recipe. And I do that all the time, especially for spices that I don't want to shell out the money for because I know I won't ever use them again. I'm like, well, either the recipe can do without it or I can find something that's close enough.
Yeah. How you like tarragon.
Yeah. But I would say even like the benefit of this time is that honestly, it's fresh produce that I've seen in abundance compared to packaged goods, which I think is a positive shift that people can make and say, well, why don't we move towards more produce? Like that is better for us. There is no additives or sugars or sodium added to that food. And all of these box goods are flying off the shelves and that's what you can't find. But that's okay. Like, let's get creative, make some cauliflower rice. Like if you can't find regular rice or, you know, move towards that if you are afraid of produce for now. And then now you can say, well, this is an opportunity to learn how to cook fresh produce.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. I know we have here at the house a farmer's market or a farm's produce box that we get delivered because they were at the farmer's markets, but obviously those got closed down. So now they are shipping their produce individually to houses, which is an awesome way to support your local farmers still.
Absolutely. Like, love the idea of supporting whoever I can during this time. I mean, I work for 2 small businesses. You run one, so we're in that boat. We get it.
Yeah, for sure. I love this picture of you, by the way.
Thanks. It was taken at a farmer's market.
Yeah, it's so beautiful.
Yeah, you know, like the baba ganoush, like they have a million dips and everything, and they let you try like as many samples as you want. Yeah, that's them. They're wonderful. Yeah, I always seek them out at every farmer's market.
Yummy.
But yeah, so
all right, and then I think we're at tag team.
We're what?
We're at tag team. Your last bullet.
Oh yeah. So yeah, you've got take shortcuts. I mean, the one thing I wanted to add to that is like, delivery. And then also with parents, don't be afraid to shell out for stuff that's pre-prepped. Like the chopped up vegetables, chopped up fruit. I totally get it that there's an upcharge associated to it. But at the end of the day, if we look at how valuable your time is to you right now and how valuable your money is, you might find that your time is actually much more valuable and you can use that extra 5 minutes back.
Yeah.
That and Instant Pot dump meals. That's something I'm setting up for my client with the 3 kids. She's going to try out some Instant Pot dump meals, and the whole idea between that and crock pot dump meals is, can you throw it into a pot and then leave it alone, and then it'll cook and it'll be done. And that way you guys can eat, you know, really good solid meals with minimal effort, because that's really huge for parents, is how can we reduce the amount of effort that you have to put in the kitchen, because you just simply don't have the time or energy.
Can you make that, like, can you do a couple of recipes on a PDF and like offer that as a like download on your website or something?
Yeah, so I actually like found a already made PDF by somebody else, so I'll just share that out, because even better. I'm still trying to get comfortable with my Instant Pot. I'm a lot more comfortable with my crock pot. So yeah, with the Instant Pot, I was like, I don't know anything that you can't really do without hands on.
Right.
So yeah, I will absolutely share that with you, because it's,
I want that PDF, because that would be such a valuable resource to share with our crowd.
And chances are you can put things into the crock pot just the same and just cook it for a little bit longer.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So if you don't have an Instant Pot, there's hope.
You should get one if you don't. I don't promote consumerism, but Instant Pot is pretty cool.
Yeah, we have them all. We have the Instant Pot, crock pot, air fryer.
Yep.
Oh, you name it. I've got it. But yeah, and then tag team. I think the biggest thing for parents right now, if you are lucky enough to have 2 parents at home, you know, because I know not everyone's that lucky, but if you are, you guys need to communicate and work together to tag team different options and opportunities for each other. So if one parent wants to work out, have that conversation with the other parent to say, can you take the kids for 30 minutes to an hour and help me out here? And tag teaming is huge, but you have to communicate in order to pull that off successfully.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's even like a whole different conversation in a nutshell, is like communicating with your partner. You know, relationships are definitely changing in this time, since we're all around each other all the time. But you know, it's really bringing out some like deficits in relationships right now, because it's like, oh, you know, even if there are 2 parents at home, maybe one partner wasn't as helpful as the other. Like, that's totally a thing, a common thing between roles and responsibilities in the household. And it's becoming very, very clear where these are now, because like, what if mom can't get away from the kids because she doesn't have a break, because she never has a break, but like partner, you know, never had this experience before of like being home all the time. So it's like, wow, like now partner has to actually be like involved, and there needs to be communication of like, I need my time, and like, you need your time, but you also need to help me with this. And like, it's a whole new role and responsibility shift that's happening right now between couples, especially with kids.
Right. And that's where like a lot of these points come in all together, where it's like, you have to plan ahead, you have to schedule accordingly when you tag team, because if you guys aren't on the same page, things are going to get messed up. And frustration is going to rise. So if you guys can sit down, and I encourage like most of my clients to sit down with their significant other at the beginning of the week or the end of their week and go over like, what do we want to do? Like, you know, my boyfriend and I, we usually look in the fridge and we're like, okay, what do we have? What are we making? When do we have to cook it? What's your schedule? What's my schedule? And we're always communicating about that. So that way we're on the same page. We know, okay, who's in charge of cooking tonight? Because maybe I'll be on calls until 7 p.m. So he's got to help me out, but he doesn't know that if I don't communicate it. And so I think that's huge with parents, to make sure that you guys are communicating and scheduling. So that way you hold both of yourselves accountable.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah. And we'll talk about communication more too, because that's part of meditation.
Ooh. Yeah. Oh, that good old meditation.
I use meditation as like a word that's all encompassing, but when I
Mm-hmm.
talk to my clients, I know that not everyone's open to meditation. Like I'm not even 100% on board myself. I'm a very like high energy person. So the idea of like
Mm-hmm.
sitting down and being with myself is really difficult. So I
Mm-hmm.
know that's difficult for my clients as well. So meditation is all encompassing, like what serves you and your soul. And I think that is such a large part. Like I put a picture of myself and my dog because that is my meditation, is when we go walking. Like I
Yeah.
try to not really look at my phone. I try to disconnect from work. That way I can just be outside and feel like the air, look at the colors, and just take in being outside, because
Mm-hmm.
I really only get less than an hour a day where I
Yeah.
get to go and do this and experience it. So
Mm-hmm.
that is my form of meditation
Yep.
for
I
me.
love
That
it.
is calming, it's relaxing, it's fulfilling, it genuinely makes me happy every day. And
Mm-hmm.
so parents need to find ways where they can utilize their quiet time for things that are actually fulfilling to them.
Mm-hmm.
So I think what most people are doing is they're so exhausted at the end of the day that they just turn on the TV, which is fine, right? I have
Mm-hmm.
one client who she intentionally watches like lighthearted and funny things with her husband at the end of the day. That's their
Right.
bonding time, and
Yeah.
it works for them. But that doesn't mean that it works for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's important during quarantine that we actually look deep inside ourselves and say, what is fulfilling to me? What would make me feel like I am using my time wisely? So one of
Mm-hmm.
the clients I got off the phone with today had told me, well, yeah, she usually does sit and watch TV with her boyfriend, but she wishes she was reading in bed instead
Mm-hmm.
and spending more time doing that. And so understanding that there is a shift of what you would like to do, how do you calm yourself down at the end of the day, and does it
Yeah.
truly rejuvenate you and make you
Mm-hmm.
ready to take on that next day of nonstop
Mm-hmm.
with kids?
Yeah. I love this so much because I think that there's a huge resistance to sitting, like you said, because a lot of people don't understand the purpose or the point, and it may be like too much, like too soon, of what, the true practice of like meditation and Buddhism is. Like we all, just like training for the Olympics, like we're all not training for the Olympics right now. We don't need to be training to be a Buddhist monk
Right.
sitting in a temple. Like we can find, like, you're giving us validation that we can find our own version of meditation, and you hit like all of the senses on your walk. Like you're listening, you're feeling, you're being so present, and you're feeling your breath and like your heart rate. Like these are all essence of what meditation is. And I love that you gave this example because it can be what it is for each person, and what you said, that finds them the most fulfillment and peace and joy and calm. And it does not need to be sitting crisscross applesauce in the middle of your
Absolutely.
living room.
Yeah. I mean, some of the other things I've been exploring during my time in quarantine is I started painting again, and
Mm.
I sold my paints like back in Boston before I moved out here. I've been out here for 2.5 years or so I haven't painted since then.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, no, yeah, I'm going to start doing that again. And it's so calming. And I painted a coloring book because I didn't have to think about a
Yeah.
concept. I just put colors on a paper. And it was so calming.
Mm-hmm.
And meanwhile, my boyfriend cannot sit and paint. That's not him, but he
Mm-hmm.
loves puzzles. And for me,
Yeah.
I'm like, I look at his puzzles and I get overwhelmed. So everyone has their own
So
thing,
many
and you
pieces.
have to respect. I'm like, I don't know what to do next. Like, this is really stressful.
These pieces all look the same.
Yeah. So he had to give me a job last time where I like took the pieces and laid them out so that he could see them, because that was like the only part I could handle.
Yes.
But like, he's just not into art. That's not his thing, and he loves puzzles. So it's like, find what works for you. And it doesn't,
Absolutely.
you're right, it doesn't have to be crisscross applesauce. It can be literally anything, as long as you feel. I love that you use the word present, because when we just turn on the TV and we sit, a lot of times we're not really present. That's when we're kind of like, we're trying to let go of our brain. We're trying to kind of black out that time, but then you don't actually feel rejuvenated from it, because you don't feel like you've done something for yourself. You spend an entire day doing something for other people, and then you have to give back to yourself in some way.
Yeah, and this time, man, people are getting like hit in the face with what they need to do for themselves. It's like, oh, I can only Netflix and chill for like 24 hours before I start wanting to like rage out and feel really guilty about what I did. So I must do something else for myself.
Exactly.
So this is a good large dose of what yourself really needs.
Yeah. And that's where you need to understand your needs. So that tag teams off of what we were talking about before is understanding how to communicate with your partner and understand how to ask for what you need, asking for help. Because like you said, that partner may have never been in the situation where they had to take care of the kids.
Right.
You know, maybe they were the ones who were out working and, you know, the other parent is the one who's at home with the kids constantly. So you've got this divide that's been happening up until now.
Yep.
And you have to be able to express what you need up front in a clear way. That also we're in such a high stress time where communications can get crossed, people can get cranky, and you have to understand your own needs in order to be able to communicate out to somebody. You have to understand if you need quiet time, and what does quiet time look like? Does that mean that you're going to go into your room and shut everything out, or does that mean you're going to go for a walk and you need to like disconnect and not be reached for 20 minutes, whatever it might be? But if you don't know that, then how are you expected to explain that to your partner? And then how are they supposed to reciprocate?
Right. Yeah. No, really important tips.
Yeah. And then finally, start small. So as you mentioned, like, you know, meditation's not for everyone. Sitting down and doing things isn't for everyone. So just figure out a way to have a small baby step. That's essentially how I do all of my coaching. Is I don't sit there and I give them, you know, a meal template and I'm like, eat this now for the rest of the week. It is, what is one small habit that we can start to integrate into like your day-to-day or your week-to-week to help you get this ball rolling? And so if meditation, quiet time, something like that is something you're unfamiliar with, you're the kind of person that's not okay with sitting still and being alone, give yourself a minute, 1 minute to do it. Set a timer, 60 seconds, focus on breathing. 1 minute's not that big of a deal. Like, you can look at that and say, yeah, I can fit that into my day. That's not a problem. Like, so one of the things I decided to pick up while in quarantine, because I picked up a million hobbies. And obviously something's got to give. So I tried to learn Italian. I downloaded an app and I paid for 3 months up ahead, because I was like, if I pay for 3 months, then I'll actually stick to it. Okay. Well, I fell off for the last 2 weeks. I haven't touched the app at all. So in the back of my mind, I'm like, you paid for 3 months. You're in this. So you need to figure this out. So initially I was doing like all of the lessons, which would take about 30 minutes for like a full, you know, to complete a full like lesson or whatever. To complete a section, it would take me 30 minutes. And then I would get to the end of my day and I'd be like, I don't want to read anymore. I just spent hours in front of a screen, and it's an app on my phone. So I have to be on a screen. It's very interactive. So you can't multitask or anything.
Right.
So I just wouldn't want to do it. So I restructured my habits and I was like, I'm going to do one lesson a day. One lesson takes anywhere between 5 to 10 minutes. That's something I can reasonably tackle. And I'm just going to do one lesson a day.
Heck yeah.
And I got to the end of my day yesterday. I was like, I really don't want to do anything, but it's just one lesson. What's one lesson?
Right.
And I did it. And I was like, wow, go me.
Yeah. Yeah. You get to the end of these small steps and you're like, I did it. Like, I'm awesome. Like, check it off the list. Done. It feels really good. That reward.
Like, one lesson a day is still going to teach me more than ignoring the app for 2 weeks.
Right.
So I'm in a much better place if I create small, tiny habits that I know I can stick to, that I know I can manage, that I know confidently that I can fit into my day. And that's what it really is all about, is when you start small and you start to build onto that, you can get bigger and bigger because you understand what the full scope entails, or you get into that habit and it becomes easier, or you realize that you really like it and that it is actually something that's fulfilling to you. Like reading a book and all of a sudden you're entranced by that book and you can't put it down, when before you couldn't even get yourself to sit for 10 minutes to read.
Right. Yeah.
You know, so I think those are crucial, because also so many people look at their current lifestyle and they see it in a big picture and they don't know how to nail it down to something small, and they feel like they need to change everything. And so when I work with clients, I'm like, hey, let's just tackle breakfast this week. We're just only going to focus on changing your breakfast. And they're like, what should I eat for lunch then? Eat what you're eating. Keep doing what you're doing. We are literally only focusing on breakfast.
Right.
And that's it.
Yep.
And then once they have confidence with breakfast, it's like, great, you're already in a routine. Now let's tackle lunch. Don't even think about dinner, right? Like, let's just go bit by bit.
I love it. And I think I like the analogy of like a savings account. And like if you just deposit like 10 cents every day into that savings account, you're going to build up like so much more interest over time than if you just ignored it and you just had to like dump $100 at the end of the time period. Like that hurts more than just doing that little daily deposit, you know, and it's that consistency that gets you, you know, that builds the habit, that flexes the muscle to add something in that's new or just keep doing a good thing that you like to do every day.
Right. Consistency is huge. I mean, without consistency, we can't get the hang of it, and it doesn't come to the forefront of our minds. And let me tell you, that's hard enough. Like, so I have this staring me in the face. This is my habit sheet.
I love it. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So that's
everything
cool. Is it laminated?
No, I don't have a laminator, unfortunately. But like, if I did,
you just like shipping taped it.
Yeah. Oh, you're getting the ideas. So yeah, I finally I had a really bad week last week. I was like feeling the rain. My motivation was low. My workouts were like, oh God, I just don't even want to do this. And so I sat down this weekend and I set some goals like, okay, where do I want to be coming out of this quarantine? And then I said, okay, what habits do I actually need to do in order to get there? And after all of that was said and done, I was like, well, how am I going to keep myself accountable? And so I wrote it on this sheet of paper, and it's sitting on my desk, and it stares me in the face every day. So that way I can look at it and say, right, I know what I'm supposed to work on. Because like, how many times do you say, I'm going to make this a habit, and then you totally forget?
Heck yeah. Yes. All the time.
All the time.
Yeah. Literally the only thing going for me right now is like business, and I know I have to walk every day. Like that's all I can do for right now. If I touch some piece of gym equipment, like I'm killing it for the day. But for me, just like business and movement is like the two things. Anything above and beyond that is like I'm winning at life.
Yeah. So I make daily lists also. So that's one of my habits is I sit, and while I eat breakfast, I write my list of the things I want to accomplish for 858 and then the things I want to accomplish for my own business. And I think that has been amazing to me to give me clarity on what I should be working on daily. So that's been an incredibly helpful habit. But then every so often I'll put in something that just says, if you have time.
Okay.
Like I have this habit where I create lists, and then if something doesn't get done within the first like week or so, it's going to stay on that list for probably the next few months. And then now I've gotten so used to seeing it that I'm like, I don't have to do it. Right. So instead I'm trying to incorporate some of those things that I'm like, it is low priority. I might have overstretched my day already, but you know what, if I get through all of this a lot faster than expected, maybe I'll take a stab at this. And because it's on my list, I might actually do it. And some days I have, and then like yesterday I worked till 8 p.m. I was like, I'm not getting around to the if you have time, because I don't have time. There's no pressure.
Yeah, that's really cool. I really like, I love structure, but I'm not like a daily structure person like you are. But I think it's so helpful for people to be able to get it out of their brain and like onto the paper and being like, okay, this is what I'm focusing on. Number one, do it, check it off. What else is on the list? Like, it's very, very helpful if you have a lot of things going on, and you just need that like concreteness of it written down. Yeah. It's perfect.
Well, I work with parents to say, well, what works best for you? Does it work to look at your week in advance? And for most parents, it doesn't, right? Like if their kid's sleep schedule like runs off,
Right.
you know, off what it normally is, that can screw up a whole day. And then next thing you know, if they've made a plan on Sunday and it's Thursday and their entire Thursday screwed up and they don't know how to react,
Right.
that makes it harder. So for a lot of parents, the day-to-day, like having an idea of what your overall plan for the week helps, but on day-to-day to say like, okay, when my kid goes down to nap, that's when I'm going to work out, rather than you put down your child for a nap and then you spend 5 to 10 minutes kind of hemming and hawing on what you're going to do. And now you're wasting time.
Yeah.
So instead, if you set your intentions ahead of time, a lot of times you can actually use your time much more wisely. And
Absolutely.
I mean, my ultimate goal is I want to be able to disconnect from work by, you know, no later than 7 p.m. usually. That's like my goal. I understand that Mondays for me are always going to be busy, but I know that that's just the norm for Mondays. So tonight it's like, I want to shut off by 7 p.m. How do I need to work in order to get there? And a lot of times it's just funneling the list of items to say, this is what I need to get done. And once I'm done, I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah. So. Yep. I like that goal of the time. Like once I'm done, we're done. There's other things
and you have to create those boundaries.
Oh, boundaries. They're so important.
They're so important, yet so mysterious.
I know. Agreed.
So, yeah.
I like that word for them.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is my office and that's my couch. So boundaries are pretty minimal. So you have to set those boundaries.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love it. So important. A whole nother conversation that could be.
We can do an entire podcast or whatever on just boundaries alone.
Heck yeah. Cool. Is there anything else that you want to add? Yes. How we find you.
Yeah, so I do 30-minute free consultations. So on my consultations, I talk to people about what they're experiencing, what their goals are, what their obstacles are, and I make sure that we're a good fit. I want to make sure that you are hiring the coach that is right for you. So we talk through that on my free 30-minute consultation, see what your journey looks like. But I am posting a lot of free content right now, which is really helpful to quarantine time. So follow me either on my Instagram or Facebook, whichever is preferred. It goes to both. But I'm putting home workouts with various different kinds of equipment. So like today I filmed one that is pretty much mostly body weight. Sometimes I include dumbbells. Sometimes I include a weighted backpack. So tons of various inspirations there. And then also lots of helpful tips for goal setting, getting your nutrition on track during quarantine. Starting, I believe, next week, I'm going to start putting out information on how we can adapt our training to quarantine, like what our new goals look like, what does training look like on a day-to-day. I'm going to start doing that as a weekly post. And then if you guys want more information on what I do as a nutrition and health and wellness coach, I have my website there.
Perfect. Yay. Thank you so much. This was an amazing first show. So
yeah, thank you. I'm really excited.
I have a full page of notes that I'm super excited to review and implement. And if anyone has any questions, please reach out to Diana or myself with whatever you have. I'm also asking everyone what they want to learn about. So if you have a topic that you want to learn about, please comment, message, get a hold of me so that we can start creating shows that you want and that you need in your life. Thank you so much for coming on, Diana.
Thank you for having me. I love this idea. This is awesome.
Thanks. We'll have you on more because there's like a bazillion things that we can talk about.
I know. I was like, I can talk about a lot, and then here's all of my availability.
Yep. Perfect. I'll hit you up next week.
Yeah, you know where to find me. I will be right here in this apartment. So all good.
Me too. All right. Well, have a good day.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.